Well, hey, good day to you. Happy Sunday to you. This is Todd. I am a regular dude walking in the Word. We go every Sunday, we look at one of the Psalms, and a good portion of them are written by David. As we go through the Psalms, sometimes they're written, but we oftentimes don't know the story behind why that psalm was written. Okay, you might be a person that writes songs, and you wrote a song about your girlfriend breaking up with you, and you're devastated, and then your dog died the next day, and then the truck broke down and everything. And then we kind of know the story behind it, like you had a bad day, and we know all this stuff that happened, because that song tells that story. But some of them don't quite tell the whole story. I mean, it's communication with God, and he writes a song. But this particular psalm, we know the story behind it, and it's actually taken. We're reading from Psalm 52 today, but the psalm where that story is taken from is in 1 Samuel 21 and 22. So I want to read. I'm going to start by reading where the psalm came from first. So we're going to start out by reading from 1 Samuel 20 and 21. And this is a story of David, and he has a guy that has become a thorn in his side really quick. And you've had people like this. You're like, and it's entitled today, "Oh, that guy." Okay, so you have a guy, a person, it can be a guy or girl that comes along, and you're frustrated with that person because you thought everything was going fine, and then they turn against you, and they're really a traitor. You can call them a Judas, really, if you want to. But this guy, here in this story, he was at he would say, the right place at the right time. David would say he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And it turned out really bad for David in the situation. But he writes this psalm and cries out to God about this guy, all right? And then you'll see at the end of the psalm, he turns to God and says, "You know what, but thanks for helping me the way you do." So let me read here, and we're going to start off today by reading 1 Samuel 21, 1 through 9, okay? And this is David is fleeing from Saul during this time, okay? He's on the run, and he comes to a place called Nob, and Ahimelech is the priest. And there's a guy there, and his name is Doeg, but I might mix it up and call him Dog, because sometimes my reading's not the greatest. But let's read here today. This is 1 Samuel 21, 1 through 9. It says this: David went to Nob to Ahimelech the priest. Ahimelech trembled when he met him and asked, "Why are you alone? Why is no one with you?" Okay? Remember, David's on the run. He just fled, so he doesn't have an entourage of people necessarily with him, and is not armed because he just took off running out of bed. If I remember, he had just been with Jonathan and had taken off. Verse 2, David answered Ahimelech the priest, "The king sent me on a mission and said to me, 'No one is to know anything about the mission I am sending you on. As for my men, I've told them to meet me at a certain place. Now then, what do you have on hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread or whatever you can find.' But the priest answered David, 'I don't have any ordinary bread on hand. However, there is some consecrated bread here, provided the men who have kept themselves from women.'" Okay? This is This is bread set aside for the priests. As we're going through Numbers right now, we'll be talking about that bread, and we've talked about it in the book of Leviticus, that bread was set aside for the Levites to eat. All right, and you're going to see Jesus talks about this incident in the Gospels, how David was hungry, and he was allowed to eat this bread. Okay, and God didn't strike him dead because he ate that bread, because God is more concerned with the heart than all the ritual. All right, so verse 4. But the priest answered David, "I don't have any ordinary bread on hand. However, there's some consecrated bread here, provided the men have kept themselves from women." David replied, "Indeed, women have been kept from us, as usual, whenever I've set out. The men's bodies are holy, even on this mission that are not holy. How much more so today?" So the priest gave him the consecrated bread, since there was no bread there except the bread of the presence that had been removed from before the Lord, and replaced by the hot bread on the day it was taken. Now get this, verse 7. Now one of Saul's servants was there that day, detained before the Lord. He was Doeg the Edomite, Saul's chief shepherd. Okay, he wasn't even an Israelite; he was an Edomite. All right, he wasn't even supposed to be around there, but he was he was apparently Saul's chief shepherd. All right, he's also a warrior. Come to find out too. Verse 8. David asked Ahimelech, "Don't you have a spear or a sword here? I haven't brought my sword or any other weapon because the king's mission was urgent." The priest replied, "The sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah, is here. It is wrapped up in a cloth behind the ephod. If you want it, take it. There is no sword here but that one." And David said, "There is none like it. Give it to me." So, we leave off the story here. David goes and he's happily on his way. He has a sword. He's eaten some food. He thinks nothing is wrong, except there was this guy, this shepherd, that happened to be there, Doeg the Edomite. And so we skip over some of the passage here, and now we're going to pick it up in 1 Samuel 22, the next chapter. We're going to pick it up there in verses 6 to 23, and find out what happens because of this one guy that was there, Doeg the Edomite. Verse 6, it says this: Now Saul heard that David and his men had been discovered, and Saul was seated, spear in hand, under the tamarisk tree on the hill of Gibeah, with all his officials standing at the side. He said to them, "Listen, men of Benjamin, will the son of Jesse come? Will the son of Jesse give all of you fields and vineyards? Will he make all of you commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds? Is that why you have all conspired against me? No one tells me when my son makes a covenant with the son of Jesse. None of you is concerned about me, or tells me that my son has incited my servant to lie in wait for me, as he does today." Okay, so Saul is given this big old sob story, which he's bringing all this stuff on himself. He's going, "Oh, you guys don't care about me," whatever. Verse 9. But Doeg the Edomite, who was standing with Saul's officials, said, "Hey, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, at Nob. Ahimelech inquired of the Lord for him. He also gave him provisions and the sword of Goliath the Philistine." Okay, so this Doeg the Edomite, he's kind of a blabbermouth, and he doesn't just say, "Hey, I saw him," but he gives all the details, that he took his sword and he ate the bread and everything else. So he's gladly given all this information up, okay? Verse 11. Then the king sent for the priest Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, and all the men of his family, who were priests at Nob. And they all came to the king. Saul said, "Listen now, son of Ahitub." "Yes, my lord," he answered. Saul said to him, "Why have you conspired against me, you and your son of Jesse, you and the son of Jesse, giving him bread and a sword and inquiring of God for him, so that he has rebelled against me and lies in wait for me as he does today?" Okay. Verse 14. Ahimelech answered the king, "Who of all your servants is as loyal as David, the king's son-in-law, captain of your bodyguard, and highly respected in your household? Was that day the first time I inquired of God for him? Of course not. Let the king accuse your servant of any of his father's family, for your servant knows nothing at all about the whole affair." But the king said, "You surely will die, Ahimelech, you and your whole family." Okay. The whole thing here, Ahimelech was just an innocent guy, a priest that was there, okay? And now he's being accused of being really a traitor, when he had already served David as a servant of Saul before. And he's just serving David like he always did. And now he's being accused of a traitor. Verse 17, Then the king ordered the guards at his side, "Turn and kill the priests of the Lord, because they too have sided with David." They knew he was fleeing, yet they did not tell me. But the king's officials were unwilling to raise a hand to strike the priests of the Lord. Huh. How about that? So the soldiers, Saul gives them the orders to kill the priests. Like, what in the world are the priests doing wrong? The priests are only serving the Lord. And he gives the order to the soldiers to kill the priests. And the soldiers are like, no, I ain't doing that. I ain't involved with that. Okay? We serve God before we serve you. But you have Doeg the Edomite. Verse 18. The king then ordered Doeg, you turn and strike down the priests. So Doeg the Edomite turned and struck them down. That day he killed 85 men who wore the linen ephod. He also put to the sword Nob, the town of the priests, with its men and women, its children and its infants, and its cattle and its dogs and its sheep. Doeg the Edomite, he doesn't stop at just killing a priest, but he wipes out the whole town. All right, way, way, way beyond what is called for here. Verse 20, but one son of Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled to join David. He told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord. Then David said to Abiathar, that day, the day that when Doeg the Edomite was there, I knew I would be sure to tell Saul, I am responsible for the death of your whole family. Stay with me, don't be afraid. The man who wants to kill you is trying to kill me too. You will be safe with me. David has just said there, I knew that Doeg the Edomite, when I saw him there that day, I knew he was trouble. I really should have dealt with him then. But now he's, wiped out all the priests. So I read all that to tell you this is where that Psalm 52, comes from. So turn to Psalm 52. Again, this is a longer episode today. The Psalm isn't that long. It's only 9 verses long. But I wanted to give you that background as to why David wrote this Psalm here. All right, so Psalm 52 says this, why do you boast of evil, you mighty hero? Why do you boast all day long, you who are a disgrace in the eyes of God? Okay, David is talking about Doeg the Edomite here. He's saying, why do you boast? Doeg did evil here. Verse 2, you who practice deceit, your tongue plots destruction. It is like a sharpened razor. You love evil rather than good, falsehood rather than speaking the truth. You love every harmful word, you deceitful tongue. Surely God will bring you down to everlasting ruin. He will snatch you up and pluck you from your tent. He will uproot you from the land of your living. The righteous will see and fear. They will laugh at you, saying, here now is the man who did not make God his stronghold, all right, but trusted in the great wealth and grew strong by destroying others. David is really talking about Doeg the Edomite here, saying how wicked and evil he is, and that he has no fear and so forth. And he's trusting in his great wealth. But let's keep reading verse 8. But I, David is talking about himself, but I am like an olive tree, flourishing in the house of God. I trust in God's unfailing love, forever and ever. For what you have done, I will always praise you. In the presence of your faithful people, I will hope in your name, for your name is good. David ends it with saying, I trust in God, and God will take care of me. Doeg, the Edomite, did these evil things, killed all those priests. Now the next battle that came along, I'm sure David and his mighty men, if they would have recognized Doeg the Edomite, which they surely did because they recognized him, he recognized him there at Nob. And if he would have saw him, they would have been like, that guy needs to die, and he needs to die right now. Okay? So I'm sure he had like a price on his head and for doing the evil he did. But this psalm is written, and it's basically a cry out with David saying, oh, that guy, is what it's really saying. So, hey, thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our journey through Numbers tomorrow. But then next Sunday, we're back in the book of Psalms. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.